So you may be looking into it as part of a green initiative. Interestingly, more and more companies are looking at virtualization as part of disaster recovery. And we go, well, that seems like, aren't you complicating things by adding virtualization to the mix? Isn't there an additional layer? And the answer is yes, but then when we're doing from the OS recovery side, no. Because your OS is a container in the virtual world, right? It is obfuscated from the real hardware that runs underneath the hood. So as long as you can get Hyper-V or VMware or Citrix Xen server installed on that hardware, you can run your virtual machine because it doesn't really run on the actual, network card or video card. It runs on virtual copies of those that are interpreted through the virtual layer. So that means post-disaster, we have a huge flood or something. Your entire building's washed away. Your servers are now floating down the middle of the street along with everybody else's stuff. Okay? Post-disaster recovery on that is getting with your hardware vendor, getting servers and going, I need crap that can run VMware. So I know that we've got these models, but you told me it's 3 to 5 days ship on those. I don't want 3 to 5 days. What can you ship me overnight so it's on my stoop? Or if you can ship 8 hours, what can you ship me that'll run VMware in that time so I can start getting servers up and running again? So I can go ahead and answer customer calls, get my voice PBX back up and running. What can you get me now? Okay. We can deal with is this stuff, going to really suit all of our needs going on later on. I can deal with taking the stuff that you can ship in 3 to 5 days and integrating that into the existing architecture. But anything that can run VMware, Hyper-V, or Xen server can be used for a starting point for a recovery system, getting VMs up and running at that point. And so it can simplify that. The process of replicating your servers is the replication of the virtual machines. Simply in VMware's world, your virtual machines are encompassed by 2 real files. The VMX, which is your virtual machine configuration that talks about the hardware setup, number of NICs, how much memory, and all that kind of stuff. And your virtual hard drives, which are VMDKs. Okay? So when I take a look at this in the world for Microsoft, those are VMCs, virtual machine configurations, VHCs, virtual hard drives. You back those up, you have 98% of what is your virtual machine. Okay? Now, the things that don't get backed up as part of that are any specific relationships between them and others that might be set up by relationships of the actual physical servers, but you got to document those additional pieces. But I can get servers up and running relatively easily here. Other considerations here. My IT experience starts like in times that most people now think are ancient, of course. So back in NetWare 3.1.1. And so I remember days when the whole process of being a NetWare shop and, running into things. So like as our processor for payroll moved away from supporting NetWare in-house, and so we ended up, having to host a Windows 2000 server just to go and interface with ADP and things like that. Okay? Virtualization reduces that issue here. Okay? I no longer need servers that are dedicated to specific operating systems that are here. I also get away from the restriction inside of organizations where we may have historically not chosen to go with best of breed products because look, well, we've got 15 Windows servers running here. It's great that you think that this, particular product running on top of Linux or FreeBSD or whatever is a great firewall. It meets every one of our needs moving forward for what we want for a firewall. But we're not interested in acquiring additional hardware. So what will run on our existing Windows systems that will go ahead and accomplish those same things? We can open up the floodgates a wee bit if that's your interest and take a look at solutions that are outside of that realm. The whole idea for virtualization says that hardware platform is no longer tied specifically to a single OS. And so we have at least more flexibility in looking at solutions out there for what products may meet our needs and what we might do. Now, of course, that also has to mesh with what skills you have for administration, but those are out there as well. So a reasoned approach. Going into this, now, project management-wise, we're going to keep this overall simple, but when we're looking at this, what is your purpose for virtualizing? Okay? that should set your guiding light for what it is you're trying to do. And we want to keep all of your ADD coworkers away from all the cool other stuff that's going on in virtualization. If we're looking at wanting to do server virtualization because we're trying to do consolidation of existing servers, decrease square footage in the data center and stuff, that's all lovely and great and perfect here. We want to go ahead and kind of keep our focus on that. And we're going to stop this discussion when they go, cool, because if we start this investigation, most of our systems that do VDI use the same back. Yeah, that's great. We're not working on VDI right now. Okay? It's a complete separate set of management tools and solutions and templates and deployments and stuff. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and look at, we're trying to go through and accomplish server consolidation, get rid of our old hardware that's starting to get old and doesn't have the ponies to run our applications anymore. We're trying to recoup all those departmental servers that are out there. What's your rationale? Set tight focus for the project that's there. Okay? Run a reality check. Again, I just look at the pronouncement that was made by the state of Ohio and their plan to virtualize out here. Okay, is that a good idea? Okay, well, I don't know enough about their IT infrastructure to determine whether virtualizing all 6,000 of their servers is reasonable or not. But I had a company approach me. They were running various different things. The one end of their business was a data warehousing service that they're running. And some of the machines out there run on a terabyte or a terabyte and a half of RAM. And they asked me if it was reasonable to think about virtualizing those. No. Okay? If that's going to take up 98 or 99% of the resources of a physical server just to host the VM, it might as well be its own physical instance on that. And we can look at things like clustering and other things in the physical environment to go ahead and deal with uptime guarantees and stuff for those. So not everything makes a great candidate for virtualization. Also, when we're looking at this, we want to make sure that you're looking at things that make sense based on your skill sets. If you're 100% Windows shop and you don't at least look at Hyper-V, you're nuts because you're talking about systems, either Zen server or on VMware, that expect some level of competence with a command line interface that's based mostly around Linux or Unix type command sets that are there. No matter how pretty the graphical front end tools are on there, sometime or another you're going to have to open up a command prompt and interact with those systems via SSH or something. And people that don't have skills there are going to have a steep hill to climb for that. Platform selection, that's in that same route. Know that your VAR, so the company that wants to sell you stuff, may have a vested interest. They may not get their platinum agreement from VMware if they don't sell X number of dollars of VMware licensure over the certain year. So there may be vested interest on their side to sell you something. You should know. And if my VAR that's out there doesn't sell all these products, I should have quotes from multiple people that sell all the different products that are out there, their suggested solutions, what's it going to look like me dollar-wise. Because if I buy from one place, and I've got VARs that I trust an awful lot, but I should know that in reality, above all, the person on the other side from me is selling me a product and making money off of me. So we need to have at least some kind of, if we're not experts in these areas, somebody who can take a look at what those look like and make sure that we're getting information, offers, and recommendations that are reasonable for what we're doing. Start slow. When we take a look at this, a rush to get into virtualization will end up with a system that you didn't have time to learn from your mistakes in our last one, and you're going to end up with a system that is either poorly architected or effectively needs to be redesigned from where we are right now. So we end up, effectively with a beta permutation of our virtualization system, and we're having to go through and make wholesale changes on that. So starting slow. Grabbing low-hanging fruit, grabbing small servers or ones that are overworked on their current dated hardware platforms allows us to minimize impact. So people say, well, won't I get the biggest benefit if I, take these big servers, virtualize those? And, well, there's some, I'll certainly have gains on uptime. I can use vMotion or other hot migration tools to guarantee uptime and use all of those. But on the low level, I'm going to impact fewer people when I screw up. When I take one department server, virtualize it, start taking a look at vMotion or hot migration type stuff, networking, and I break stuff, okay, it's their app. They're going to be out of functionality down there, but at least the whole company isn't down at the moment, okay? So start slow, start at the small end, learn from our mistakes, figure out what, exact boundaries and stuff we're breaking here. Know that virtualization has a tendency to cause not only a required shift in our vision for our technology, but oftentimes impacts the political architecture within our company as well, because we're blending a lot of things together network-wise that weren't before. Yeah. So overall, by the end of our 5-day class, so we've got one coming up February 14th that is VMware administration. People come out the end of that class and they go, gosh, this was easier than I thought it would be. Okay? And again, that's not uncommon. We're trying to, through the vendors and other people, make these topics approachable because small and medium-sized businesses have the opportunity for gains that are pretty serious here. But let's be realistic here. There are going to be new skills. For many companies, that means that the acquisition of a SAN, management of the disk system that are there, logical management of our LUNs and logical disks, and other things have to be looked at. And you don't stumble over that stuff. You can learn it as you go along, but you're going to make a lot of mistakes along the way as well. So there's going to be a need for acquisition of those. Typically, that means getting with your SAN vendor and saying, hey, I need my administrators here to get trained up on what's going on here. There are changes in deployment. There's nothing wrong with maintaining an investment in imaging and other things here, but most of our virtual systems use different deployment systems with templates and clones that are tuned specific for the way that the virtual systems are managed. So I can still actually use Ghost to image servers and stuff here, but it's not the most efficient way to handle things. Overall, we also have some things that are eased here. The cool thing about deployments here in a virtual environment is that it doesn't matter where this virtual machine is going to be deployed. It's the same virtual hardware that gets presented to it. So, we end up with isolation from changes. It also means, though, as we go along, it eases some of the pain. So if you're having to do server refreshes here, assuming your new servers can run your current virtual platform, your VMs move over to that new platform seamlessly to them and to your users as well. Management tools, all of the management tools, and I'm not talking just the tools. So VMware's got the VMware Infrastructure Client, or now it's the vSphere Client that allows you to manage a single ESX server. I'm talking about Virtual Center, and I'm talking about System Center Virtual Machine Manager from Microsoft. These are all deep tools. These all have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of features and properties and third-party products and things that will integrate with them. It is not enough to just learn the underpinnings of virtualization. What is a virtual machine? About the basics of virtual networking. You have to be introduced and learn how to use that management tool, and so that's on there as well. And again, changes down at the bottom. Virtualization touches a lot of things. So it's going to touch storage and your interaction between your teams that are dealing with virtual administration and the storage team in your company, if there's already a storage team, are going to change because of the way that VMware and other virtual products use the shared disk storage that's there on your SANs. So it's going to end up being a lot more of a collegiate type relationship here because of just the things, if you imagine what's going on with a vMotion, which is the process of moving a virtual machine from one ESX host to another. Well, both of those ESX hosts have to be able to see the virtual machine files that are stored out there in the SAN, which implies that unlike traditional SAN management, where the LUN was probably visible to one host, that ain't going to be the game anymore. Okay, so if I want to take the virtual machine and take it while it's running and move it over to another ESX host, that means they both have to be able to see that logical disk. That means if I'm going to run a VMware cluster with things like high availability and DRS, all the nodes in the cluster have to be able to see that LUN. So we have some changes on how that's going to have to be handled. And those have to be communicated in a way that allow that group of people to understand why those changes are taking place and what do they mean and how to handle those. We also have then some additional fun things here.